Hey guys, I'm at the dock down at Okanagan Falls, not too far from Osoyoos, and I thought I'd go for a walk on this dock here and have a little chat. We'll see how effective the lighting is as I'm doing it. I guess if I go close, oh yeah, getting a bit of an effect there. I'll try it over on this side. I think that's a bit better. I drive by this dock, this lit up beautiful dock they have here quite often, and I always have this idea for a screenplay scene that is not going to happen to me here tonight. We're going to take a look over, see what's going on in the water. Thudding, cracking sound the water or the ice makes is not pleasant to me. So, in the scene that I thought of, the main character comes to either this exact spot or somewhere very similar to this, and halfway across the dock, he sees someone or something stepping onto the dock at the far end, and he goes to turn around and he sees a similar detriment stepping onto the dock behind me there, and he's right in the middle, and the lights go out for some reason, and he's got to confront these circumstances in the dark. Don't really care to do horror as far as the writing goes, because I don't like the energy that creates when you get up people all disturbed and afraid. I don't think that's absolutely necessary in the creative process, but if that's your thing, I certainly get it. Speaking of writing, I'm into, I think it's the third draft of Travelers 383, which is my fifth. Something just walked out at the end of there. If I look back that way, oh shit, there's one that way too. Hope the lights don't go off. Quite the thespian, huh? Become quite the performer since I started this YouTube thing. So, third draft in, Travelers 383, and what I've started doing is encompassing cameos from protagonists from my previous scripts. We're at the end of the line here. And there's, you can't really pick it up. There's a community behind me there. So, yeah, it's added a level of complexity to the creative process in my screenwriting, because there's nothing behind me. Because it's like you're writing 3 or 4 scripts at the same time, because you're thinking in terms of cameos or possible cameos that characters from previous creatives, or I usually have the next one in my head. We're back. Goddamn battery died. I told the director, one more issue and I am off this production. I have become quite the prima donna since I started the YouTube stuff. So I was talking about the writing. It's kind of become 3-dimensional in my mind now, because excuse me, I'm writing the stories that I have and then doing countless rewrites, and keeping in mind the possibility of very brief cameos from characters from previous scripts. So it's added an interesting element to that. A little bit more of what's going on. I developed and launched quite some time ago a web app called excuse me, notafranchise.com. It's called Not a Franchise. It's at notafranchise.com, and it is starting to at least a little bit gain some traction, where I have to, on a regular basis, go in and I'm right over the water right now. Yeah, you can't see that. I have to go in to my web app. Yeah, let's go further out on the water. That seems like a good idea. And approve or decline the listings. And what's happening is the number of listings that are being submitted to my web app are increasing every day. So it's... Ooh, did you hear that? It sounds like a laser or something going on when the ice cracks. Even if you're not on the ice, it's creepy. You can hear the ambulance, but ooh, scary, but I like it. It's like a thing alive. So notafranchise.com is starting to gain a little bit of traction. Every day there are more and more listings being submitted, the vast majority of which I approve and publish, and they get to have a little bit of free or premium SEO presence on the small business directory listing that is not a franchise. So that's certainly coming along. My other store that I'm going to do a comedy ad for, this other store that I have, I won't mention the details for it here, have been some sales, selling a little bit of product. That's USA only, for a lot of business reasons for that. And yeah, it's making some moderately consistent sales. Not a huge amount of money, but we're getting there. So in the scene that I had in mind for this spot that I am, the character comes out onto this dock, or one similar to it, for some reason, and exactly where I am, halfway across, the guy looks up and senses motion. There's something at one end, back down the other way, something at that end, and then the lights go out. And he has to deal with whatever's going on in the dark. And so you get an audio feed of whatever combative circumstances are taking place with the guy, and then the lights come on and away he goes. I don't want to get too prescient with this stuff because there are some large cats in this area that are still awake. The bears are supposed to be asleep, but you see an occasional one in the winter months. And again, that scene I just described probably never going to come to fruition because I don't like, in my creative process, what horror represents, where you're fostering, conjuring, creating disturbance for people. You're scaring them, you're disturbing them, agitating them. I don't really care to do that with my creative, so I don't know that I'll ever pursue... The fuck is that? Messing with you. Don't know that I'll ever pursue horror. Two things I figured out very late in life that I'm good at. One is long distance running. I had no clue. The other one's acting. Apparently a bit of a thespian thing going on there. I highly doubt that's ever going to get put to use. So yeah, again, I'll show you. I'm walking out onto another thing that's over some very cold water. I come fishing here quite a bit in the summer. I've published a couple of right into the abyss. Yeah, I put out a couple of videos from here I don't know if I was talking in those at all. I think I might have just been fishing from that way down at the end of the dock. There's a couple really good spots. It drops off really quick, and if they're on, you usually have a pretty good bass day in this spot. This is the main dock in Okanagan Falls, as I mentioned at the beginning of this little whatever this thing is. Can you hear that ice garden? It does sound like something alive or something's coming up. I had an incident just up ahead here in the summer. I was fishing off that spot there. Hand to God, a beaver swims up, comes up on the shore. He's walking right towards me like he owns the place. Attitude coming off this beaver. That's weird. How aggressive can a beaver really get? And you're visualizing the buck teeth they have going. They probably have some kind of claws. So I reeled my thing in real quick and got out of there. But yeah, I was the victim of beaver aggression, I guess we'll call it. Hopefully that's not too dizzying, that light going back and forth there. I'll try and get this last bit out before the batteries die again. I have to leave set in a huff like I told the director I would do. Next screenplay, I'm torn. There's a female historical figure, and nobody has pursued her story. She's an incredible character, and her dynamic with some of the people around her was absolutely amazing. So giving serious thought to making that my next screenplay. But there's another storyline that's kind of pushing itself up. And those are the ones that usually get written. They kind of write themselves. And that one involves a gangster named Chick Tricker. That's a true character in historical characters in the early 1900s New York mafia. And he's actually drawn to the creative cafe artsy crowd scene that's going on in New York. This character in my mind, this whole thing is fictitious, but he gets drawn into this sort of mafia circumstance and becomes one of the bigger, badder mafia guys in New York in that period, even though he very, very much would rather have been hanging out with the bohemian artsy poets on opium in the cafes of New York and Paris in that era. He goes the other way and ends up in the mob, and that's called Chick Tricker, and that's the name of one of the guys who lived in that era. So those are the two options that way that I've been bouncing around in my imagination, and I think I'm going to go with the actual female historical figure. I don't want to go into details. I don't think I'll say much about that, to be honest, because it is unique. What the hell is that walking towards me? It is unique, and it is an incredible story that actually happened in history. Kind of a Game of Thrones thing. Two sisters, very strong-willed sisters, not getting along and taking hits out at each other and stuff in real life. And how things turned out is absolutely fascinating. So I don't know, guys. I saw this bridge quite a few times. I thought I'd come down and do a little couple of monologues down here and tell you what's going on, basically with the creative, but also with some of the other web development things that are on the go. Probably go skiing and thinking about a painting, probably a painting as well. I know that might not be the most exciting content for you, but oh, did you hear that? I want to get one big ice crack before I go here. No, okay. Off to the next adventure.